Hear ye, everybody be quiet. Because the person we have in the home with dear Hallmark, we got to get out our best china for this one. We got to get dressed up. I know we're at home, but we still have to get dressed up and bring out the good china on the dining table for this one. Because we have costume designer extraordinaire, Mr. Keith Costumes, here in the home of dear Hallmark. Ah, how are you, Keith?
Dearest Dara, hello. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. So, I want to start off our conversation this year with an icebreaker question. These are just fun questions I just love to ask to get the juices going. So, if you had, I believe in you. If you had an ice cream flavor that could sum up your personality, which ice cream flavor would you feel like would match your personality?
Well, I grew up down the street from like an old 1950s style like soda fountain place called Shady Glen, which has like a really famous cheeseburger. And my favorite, which is theirs, is chocolate peanut butter because it's rich and delicious, but then it has like bands of peanut butter in it that add a little like bite to it, but also like a little, peanut butter flavor.
I could see that you have the classic, but the flair, the little bit of the razzle dazzle. I could see
Exactly.
that.
But it's still classic enough. Like I don't like the crazy like when there's 14,000 things in it.
Yeah. Now me on the other hand, I like birthday cake, so it's like I like the.
Like birthday cake, it needs to be like a kid size. It's too much.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just like bring it on, bring it on. But Keith, so first of all, I just want to tell you, and I told you this offline, but I want to tell you just congratulations with everything. Guys, if you haven't, Keith, so he first came on the Home of Dear Hallmark and talking about Holiday Spectacular. That's when I first got introduced to him. And y'all, we all know that those costumes were fantastic. And then he did Biltmore Christmas. I know, the Biltmore Christmas. But now you have not one, not two, but three blockbuster, I mean major Hallmark movies that all premiered within 2 days of each other for Merry Thanksgiving weekend. Keith, I just want to ask you first off, like, how are you? How are you feeling?
It's overwhelming because I also just finished filming a movie like the week before.
Oh my
So it
goodness.
was like working 3 movies, launching a jacket collection, doing a bunch of these conversations, all of the above. But you got to take in this business, you got to take the highs with the highs because balance is the lows. So it's
Absolutely.
exciting. And I love seeing people's responses, especially like Finnish and Quest, which we filmed earlier this year. So it's nice to like see it through like fresh eyes too.
Yeah. So let's go right into, let's start with Christmas Quest. Well, no, let's start with Holiday Touchdown. I feel like that needs a moment. Because Christmas Quest and Finish Line are a little bit related to each other. But with Holiday Touchdown, that one was an incredibly unique movie for Hallmark in general. A, because they were partnering with the NFL, which is unprecedented
And
in Hallmark.
bananas.
It been in pajamas, okay? Like it was, it was crazy. And so, what was it like when you got the call that you were going to be attached to this movie?
Well, this was a weird one because I got a call not with what it was, but a call being like, "We can't tell you what it is, but we want you to do it. Please trust us."
Wow.
And I was like, "As long as I have a job."
I know that's right.
So then your mind starts racing, and I'm trying to think of like, is it like Christmas at Mount Rushmore or something? Like I'm trying to think of other like Biltmore type places. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like Christmas at the White House. I don't know. Um, so then I think it actually was only like a week or so later. They sent me an NDA, and then they wouldn't say anything until obviously it was signed. And then they called me and were like so excited to tell me. And it's like it's very overwhelming at the moment because it's
Mm.
like the NFL and like Spectacular was a partnership, Biltmore is a partnership. Like I don't know, but the NFL, it's just like it's a weird. They're a different kind of brand, I guess,
Yeah.
and on just like a huge scale. So it's exciting, and of course, I'm not a football person, so that was an interesting thing to do. But I was like, I'm a Swiftie, it's fine.
for the Swift of it all. So you're now on the set. You're in the movie. What, because you're not a football, like what was your inspiration for how you pick the looks for each of the characters? I know I would assume it was probably some of the Chiefs cut like their colors, but I would love to hear from you like what your inspiration was for the different looks that we saw throughout the movie.
Well, that's the thing is like the obvious thing is red and gold. But also like it's Chiefs Kingdom and Chiefs Kingdom's a city of red, so you don't want to go that obvious with it, which helps having it being an ensemble cast, right? With the grandparents and the parents and then the two of them. And it allows me to like play with putting people on like not only just red but Chiefs branded stuff versus like not like normal things to balance it out. I kind of Daniel, production designer, who I know you've talked to before, he did this one too, and Daniel's so good at decking a set with like Christmas. So I knew he would do the same thing, which I did with Chief stuff. So like there's Chief stuff all around you. I don't necessarily need to put you in Chiefs things. So I
Mm.
really only put them in Chiefs things like mostly when they were like watching a game. Because like when they get like the stadium chairs, like nobody's wearing a Chiefs thing. So we can still be festive, and I didn't want to like bang people over the head too much with like just me. I didn't want it to look like I just went to the pro shop and bought a bunch of Chiefs, which I
Yeah.
did, and incorporated them like accordingly. Like obviously at the end, like we kept using the term like your game gear. Like every time like big fans of teams and things, like you wear your game gear. Even if a lot of the tailgaters like that was all their own stuff. So like they not only buy branded things, but they like create their own things. Like those buses and stuff, like those are real fans, like buses.
Wow. That's so interesting. So you have been a part of then three major Merry Thanksgiving partnership movies, each so specific and particular. Like how does that compute in your mind? Because like Holiday Spectacular, we have the Rockettes. That was more of a vintage thing. Biltmore Christmas, did like a dip into the vintage a little bit too. But then you have present day football. Like so how was it for you approaching this with, it being so far removed from Holiday Spectacular and Biltmore?
I mean, they're just totally different wavelengths. I mean, when I get called for like those two, like I know a big part of it's going to be period. So like when I got this script, I wasn't expecting any period, but we got a pinch like in that opening sequence thing,
Mm-hmm.
which was fun. But it was a lot of work for like a minute.
Yeah.
um, they're just like completely different things. I mean, like you kind of wear a different hat when it's like a period movie and a different hat when it's contemporary because it's different thought process of like what you're putting people in and why you're putting in them in it. Like the dress moment's very different in contemporary land than it is in like 1927. I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
next I want to do a 1920s movie. Um, just like the vibe is automatically totally different and like you're looking at it through like a different lens.
So, what was in terms of extra? Because I remember you told us the amount of people you had to have clothes for Holiday Spectacular was astronomical. With this, did were those numbers the same, more or less? Like, what was it like in terms of taking care of the background people for this?
I mean, it was a high number just because there's a lot of like crowd scenes, and at the end we had like coaches and refs and this person and just like team employees and security. But the addition on the other movies when it got so many costumes was because it was the same person with multiple changes. We didn't really have that here. And also with background, if you ever come and be background in one of our movies, we send out notes and you bring things that are along those lines, and then we kind of piece it together, and then we might give you a couple things. So it's not a full head to toe operation.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot more manageable. On the stadium day, like when we had Andy Reid and Tammy Reid and Jenna Bush Hager and like players and all these specialty people, like that was like all hands on deck. And then we had the crowd that puts the hat on, and like we had to provide the hat, and it was like making sure they all get handed out, and then we got them all back. So it was dealing with a crowd in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, like hundreds of people were like, we don't want these hats like away.
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you just tell us a moment, like a moment that you'll cherish the most being on the Holiday Touchdown set? Because I feel like this is a movie, whether someone liked it or not, it is going to go down in Hallmark history for what it is and the nature of the partnership. So, what was
Right.
something that you feel like you can take away from that you cherish working on this set?
Well, it's very personal. So I lost my grandmother right before I went to film this.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
And
Keith.
thank you. And but I'm grateful that I got to tell her about it. And the Mary McDonough, who I adore from the Waltons, was playing Carol, and my
Hmm.
grandmother's name was Carol with an E.
Oh my
So that's why
God.
she's Carol with an E. And it's a great fitting thing because everybody used to go to my grandmother's house to like have coffee and just like hang out and stuff.
Wow.
So it was a really awesome, like natural thing, and I'm really grateful. Like when I brought it up to the team, they all were like, absolutely, like, oh my God, and they like super embraced it. And then like Mary embraced it. So that's like a really cute thing that gets to like live on and like that's the thing I like about film is it can like live on and it'll live on beyond my lifetime.
Yeah.
Um, and then on like a visual note, I mean, I'm really proud of like the Letterman coat that I did for Hunter at the end that I then converted into like my own little exclusive jacket line. And also obviously the dress moment. Because I wasn't originally gonna make a dress, and then like nothing was working, and then like people just did an article, and they were like, and it was true, like it wasn't done until like an hour before she put it on, and it was like, hope it fits.
So talk about that. Like, what inspired you to now start this jacket line that you have, like based off of the movie? Like, what? How did that come about?
Well, that was one of the first things I like thought of when I got the call, and like I photoshopped a bunch of stuff together, and I love my actual Letterman jacket from like high school, and I think it's just like I always wanted to be Danny Zuko from Greece. I actually in high school wanted the sweater, not the jacket. And with the partnership, I wanted to create something visual that wasn't branded,
Mm,
that like a classic Hallmark-esque wool coat, and then like a classic sportswear something. Um, and then I like bought a bunch of stuff. So like the one in the movie, it doesn't really exist in the world because it was like Frankenstein together. So mine was edited off of that, inspired by. But the real reason I did it was surround yourself with people that like want you to be better. So
mm-hmm.
April, who was my tailor, who finished the dress like 5 minutes before, um, she kept telling me she was like, "You need to make these, otherwise somebody else's. You need to make them. I know all these people that like they would die for this, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, whatever." And then like she'd say it again. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, whatever." And then like we went out to lunch, and she was like, "Really?" Like she's like, "I think it's really great." And I was like, "Okay." And then I basically was like, I don't want to like live a life of being like, what if?
Mm,
So, and if I saw it out there that somebody else did it and I didn't take the chance, so I was like, I mean, Cher's mother always told Cher, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter. So I was like, it's not like I have like a family of 7 children that's like relying on me to feed them that I'm gonna like default on. So that was kind of thing. And basically I had a lot of anxiety about it for a while. And then I finally was just like, shut up like you're doing it and just like do it. And then here we are.
that's exciting. Well, congratulations for
Thanks.
that. Because I know with anything, with any type of passion project, aside from passion, it takes courage to really step out there because you don't know
Yeah.
how it will be received. But just doing it anyway, that's brave and that's courageous. So kudos to you. Kudos to you for
Thanks.
doing that.
It's not easy. But that's my thing. It's like bet on yourself. So at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're all we've got.
Yeah, yeah. So you did Holiday Touchdown in the summer, but you briefly mentioned earlier,
So hot.
wait, because you were in Kansas City for that one, yeah.
Yeah, and like when I say there's like no breeze in like Missouri, there's like nothing. It's like it just sits there. Like we are nowhere near a body of water.
No lake effect, no nothing.
No, there's nothing. Like the wind, nothing. It was so hot, and like the stadium is like a bowl,
Yeah.
like concrete and metal that just like holds heat. So it
Uh,
was everybody. We were roasted like chickens. It was yeah hard. I mean, it was really really hard for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah. So contrast you being hot in Kansas City to the polar ice caps of Finland. and Iceland with Christmas Quest and the Finish line, which you were also costume designer for. What was it like when you got that call? Because I'm jealous. Like Iceland and Finland are two countries I've always wanted to go to. So when I tell you, like I blue skidooed myself into the movie, like
Yeah.
watching,
You
it's
needed like the
so
VR
beautiful.
glasses.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. So what was that call like when you found out that you were going on location there?
I think that was actually just like a text, and I was like, "Great, when do we leave?" Because that was coming off of the strike, so I
Okay,
was
yeah.
going to work again, yada yada yada. Because I think I like traveled. I shopped a bunch of stuff here and shipped it over because Iceland's very expensive,
Mm.
because everything's imported. So like I use the example of like there's a t-shirt here that's $30. It's probably about 50 to 60 there. It's almost double on everything. So I sent a bunch of stuff, and I think I went over the beginning of February. And you, where the airport is in Iceland, it's like pretty much right next to the volcano that erupts. Um, and then you still have an hour drive into the city, so you get to see a lot of like the lava fields and stuff.
That's
And
beautiful.
it is like a whole nother world. But it's amazing. The people are amazing. It's just everything's so expensive.
Was that your first time there in both countries?
Yeah, Iceland. I mean, Finland. I want to go back because I don't want. I want to go to Helsinki.
Yeah.
And Iceland. I mean, it's actually on the East Coast. It's only like a 5 hour flight. It's really not that long. So
Wow.
yeah, it's not. It seems like it's another world. And they have the best water, and they're very proud of their water. Especially their hot water is all geothermal heated from the volcanoes. So that's why there's a lot of like the blue lagoons there, and I went where all the locals went to the sky lagoon. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely like when it's like the Christmas quest, like even for us like Americans going over there, like it is kind of a quest because it's like I'm not used to throwing people in crampons and having them hike up a glacier.
Right. Right. So what like for this one, a lot of the time your leading lady and leading man were out in the cold. So pretty
Oh yeah.
much it was more so hats, gloves, coats. At least that like that's what I saw with watching both of those movies. I'm about halfway through Christmas Quest though, but I
Uh,
know I still want to talk about the dress moment because I know that there's a dress moment, so I still want to talk about it. But what what was that like? So you have Holiday Touchdown, which you know it's Chiefs. You got trying not to do branded stuff, but yet you're here in Iceland and Finland, and then you just have like coats, hats, mittens, but they also still need to be warm. Like, what was your thought process in picking out the looks for these two movies?
well, like Chris wears a jacket brand called 66 North, which is an Icelandic like Canada Goose essentially, and
Mm.
their jackets are like astronomically priced, but like when I say like he could have probably just worn that and been fine, he probably could have, which is bonkers. Um, Finish Line was an interesting one because Kim was like, and everybody was like actually on those dog sleds. So like they were like moving and grooving the whole time. So like that helps keep you warm. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember like Kim would wear like thermals and stuff, but it wasn't like layers and layers and layers. Whereas in Christmas Quest, there was an entire day they were stuck not moving too much in an ice cave. So it's literally, I mean, it's just layers and layers. At one point, we bought like an electric heated thermal that you had to charge. So that's a whole nother thing. And the
Wow.
hardest part are fingers and toes, really.
Mm.
Um, because like you want them to like be tightly bound, but then you can't get warmers in there, and it takes a team of people just to keep people warm. And it also takes a team of people just to keep them cool. Never mind like all the clothes on top of it. But as far as choices go, it was more about like color palette for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Quest, there's like a line about something about like a Bond villain or something, or like the apartment they're in. And like it was very much inspired by like National Treasure, and
Yes.
so there's lots of like bodysuits and Indiana Jones. So that's like why we're like we called it like the adventure hero outfit. So it's like every time they go out, which really made the movie even better because every time they go out, they're wearing the same thing. So it's like they're Indiana Jones. Like Indy pretty much wears the same thing. And that allowed, literally, there was a day where they like put them in a van with like a skeleton crew, and they would just like drive and hop out and shoot something, and then hop back in and drive and hop out, and like that's where like we got like the waterfalls and just like different scenic shots of like the drone and like the car going through like the snowy abyss. Like that's because if we didn't, I mean, the movie wouldn't have been made if I was always like, they need to change. And actually, in a creative way, I like that too, because then it allowed me to focus and my budget as well, like into things like the gown and not like having a million changes. So it's like a balance. Um, and then obviously, and we did a similar thing in the finish line because Kim always has everybody that she's racing, they have like their race uniform and like their bibs. So um, it was kind of nice. But then also that also creates interest because the people around them are changing. Like
Mm.
Nicole, who plays Elise, had some really cool outfits that were like really layered and like that was also kind of Icelandic inspired or like Nordic, I guess, inspired of like the layering of different knits and how it's worn, and like the faux furs. Because in Finland, there's actually like when we shot in the ice restaurant, originally there's a lot of reindeer furs there because
Oh,
they always, I don't know, they love their like furs and things. But
yeah.
we kind of stripped that back.
What was it like shooting two movies almost like back to back? Like, what was that prep like for that?
I like it in the way of, so like I explained filmmaking as like, okay, it's January, I'm gonna start a business. February, I'm gonna run the business, and then March, I'm gonna close the business. Because like we film it so fast, so like the
Mm,
business isn't really like operating for that long.
mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be able to set up and then like roll into another one because it is a lot of work to like every movie I do, I have to like go to storage and get all my supplies out. And then it's like you have to get set up just generally. So the second movie is actually really great because you're already set up, you've been there for a while, you're comfortable, and then you're just like ready to go. So we came back from Finland and we were already working on the other one. Um, but yeah, but actually, speaking of Finland, mid filming traveling to another country is very difficult.
Yes. Talk about it.
I think, what was it? Either we shot a little bit on a Friday morning or not at all on Friday and had to like pack up and like fly to Finland and then like we're rolling cameras. I think like oh no, that was Scotland. I think we were off for like a day and then maybe we rolled on Monday, but it was like I had forgotten something in Iceland because like some people had wrapped there and then they wanted to do a pickup there. So then it's like, oh my God. And then luckily I think one of the sound guys was coming, so we were like, get him the jacket. Um, so
Wow.
it's stressful, obviously, making
Yeah.
sure you have everything. And like, again, I know we talk about it all the time, but like we film these in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's go, go, go. And obviously when you're go, 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 you can, we're all human. Things get forgotten. But the jacket made it better.
Yeah. So let's focus on finish line for a little bit. Um in terms of research into dog sledding, did that play a part at all in terms of what the racers wore? Or like did you do any research at all prior to getting on set and actually being there?
Yeah, totally. Definitely a lot of their stuff is related more to function than fashion.
Okay,
So it's
yeah.
fun to trying to find like that balance. So I went back and watched Snow Dogs. Um, which actually like that's Alaska, but I was kind of like there's actually a lot of like parallels and kind of like materials and things that they use. Um, yeah, and then like obviously making sure like the race bibs and working with Daniel to design like that logo, and we had to have like multiples of those technically for filmmaking because like she falls off the cliff and it gets dirty, but then like with filmmaking we're hopping around and stuff. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure in general, which I'm really proud of like the background in that because like they're very like neutral and very real.
Yeah.
Um, and there's like lots like you know me, like I typically like a more like nice wool coat over like puffer coat, but like here puffer coats make sense because it's more about staying warm than like vanity. And then of course with Kim I tried to like give her a silhouette, so like we pulled the waist in and stuff, so it was like little things like that to kind of I mean it. But yeah, I mean I wanted something that was still it's always like with the international ones, it's trying to find the balance for like the American audience that's mainly watching it, like but
Mm.
understand of like that world,
Mm-hmm.
while also being like respectful to that country. Like I remember, I believe I was having a lot of conversations about the reindeer sled guide in Finish Line because
Mm.
she's dressed like a traditional, like I think it's a Sami. And I wanted to like make sure that it was like worn correctly. So I was like working with somebody on my team and like we were like researching that and like talking because that was a real reindeer guide. And like this is
Oh,
actually what like they wear when they do it because like they're part of this tribe.
I love that.
Um, and also with Finish Line too, there was a lot of conversations about Santa because Santa is like from Finland. Like
Mm-hmm.
Finland is very prideful about Santa. That's which we filmed at Santa's Village in the Arctic Circle. So there was a lot of conversations about how we were presenting Santa to make sure it was respectful. And that's why like that's a traditional Finnish Santa beard that's like very long into his lap that's made out
Yeah.
of yak hair. So yeah, I mean the conversations are ongoing, definitely because like that was one of the real Santas that you can go and meet in Santa's Village.
Oh, wow.
So it was making sure that like he was also comfortable wearing it as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's always an ongoing thing, but we always want to have like the utmost respect.
I love that. Now talk to me about Bo's coat. The leather one with like the fleece. It was giving me like polar helicopter pilot a little bit, like just the way, you know what I mean? Like from like,
No, no, you hit it on the nose. So that's from a brand called Cockpit USA that I
oh,
love their Um, and they're all like truly replica, like fighter Air Force from all the eras. So actually, so I used one of their coats on Chris in Biltmore at the train station.
okay.
And I had, when that movie came out, I was like, I want one for me. And they were like, oh my God, like come and visit, yada, yada, yada. Well, then I was like, started to deep dive online. And then I was like, I kind of like this one. Um, so when I actually went, so Monty, when he enters, is wearing one by the same brand, but it's the longer version.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I wanted that shorter one for me. So then I was trying to figure out like, is it more of a bow thing? But the other longer one made sense more for Monty, but I still wanted the shearling and the leather because I don't know, I don't know, I just like the look. And
It was a
speaking of like the
look.
leather shearling, those are very like net, those are natural materials technically. So like I wanted to tap into that being in like Finland where I feel like I related them from what I saw and what I know to very much like they don't waste anything. So it's like
Mm.
with the reindeer, like if it's like reindeer meat, then they have like the reindeer furs and like I feel like they have historically have done something with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, which everybody's like, oh, it's just a jacket. But, like these are all the things that kind of go through your mind. But it's actually yeah, so that's my jacket.
That
Um,
is cool. I love it. It
yeah,
was working. I said yes, Bo. I love that jacket. I totally, yeah. I love that jacket so much, so much. But I can you talk to us too about the sweaters because I mean if it's one thing a Hallmark Christmas movie has, it's some cozy sweaters. So talk to us about a little bit of the sweaters that we see in Finish Line with Kim, and I believe we saw Nicole in some, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. One of
Um,
my favorites of Nicole's is I think it's one of the first ones she wears that has like a tree silhouette on it, and I put like a turtleneck
mm-hmm,
under it because in both countries, I noticed they do a lot of interesting layering. Like they'll wear a crew neck sweater, but with a turtleneck under it, or a
mm-hmm.
V-neck sweater, and like they layer their knits, and I kind of wanted to pick up on that. Um, I love Kim more just like a waffle Henley that had like a cool patterned like cuff thing. Somebody was like, "Are those cuffs or and like are they attached?" And they are attached, but they could go either way. But it, like even though that was lighter weight, it still gave like a cozy element and had kind of a pattern that spoke to kind of the area we were in. Um, yeah, there's one outfit, the outfit that Nicole wears for the final race is like my favorite because it was one of these things where I was like, I'm either brilliant or I've lost my damn mind. I was doing a lot of pattern and texture mixing, and then I add like a faux fur lined like jacket over it, and then like a different knit scarf. And it was like all of these things, but sometimes it just works, and
Yeah,
that worked. And then like she had like these cool cargos with like the boots that we tucked in because like she's cool and she's like working on the sled.
yes.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. And like I liked even some of Bo's sweaters that had like a more natural raw
I
edge.
was gonna talk about that too. The one where
Oh,
we first
really?
meet him on the stairwell, where he's like hiding the dog, right? Like she's coming
Yeah.
down the stair. That sweater, I was like, that's a good sweater right there. Like I
Oh,
could,
but when he's first, isn't that the green plaid?
I believe so. Like he's on the stairwell because she's hiding, and then she finds out he's a reporter.
Yeah. I think he's in it.
Yeah,
Isn't he in a Henley in a green plaid? And then she's in. I like that sweater on her. It's that's a ski sweater that actually Red
yeah,
Bear gave to me. Um.
yeah, yeah. You know how to capture a moment,
Oh,
and
thanks. That's it.
and
It's always like about painting the whole picture.
they are paintings. Like if you taking stills of these, they're paintings. And I want to talk about, because I feel like synonymous with Keith costumes is the dress moment. So I would be remiss not talking about the beautiful moment we see with, we got Palaha in the tux again, and then we have the wonderful Lacey Chabert in a beautiful dress. So talk to us about For Christmas Quest, kind of that moment and what your thought process and inspiration was for those looks.
Well, funnily enough, about the dress moment is Finish Line doesn't have a dress moment.
Right.
Just because sometimes it just doesn't, it just naturally isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we did Finish Line first. So by the time we got to Quest, I was like, I need a gala. Uh,
Yes.
so that dress I actually designed. I had known from a little bird that there was probably one after Finish Line, and it might have been with Lacey. So right before I went to Iceland, I took myself on a little vacation, and I was laying by the pool. I was sketching, and I know Lacey likes an off-the-shoulder moment, and I love a beading moment with like layers of beading and like lace and all that kind of stuff. So I was just playing around, and Lacey, even though she's petite, can pull off a large gown, especially obviously when you see her like strutting up the ramp. Like it's a very large dress. I think there's like 13 yards of fabric just in the skirt. So it's
Wow.
very, yeah, it's very full. Um, so I was just like playing around, and I liked the idea of like a knot that goes off the shoulder and it's like angular, so it still gives that edge. And the beading I specifically chose, which I stole off another dress, was because it reminded me of, like, I grew up in the Northeast, so there's always like when you get to springtime, like things start to bloom, and then there's like
Mm-hmm.
one last frost, so you still have like the color of a new flower, and it's still like crystallized over it. And if you really zoom in on that dress, there's like greens and purples and like little like dots of like deep red, and like that's why her bag is green, because there's actually green in it that is then clear crystals over it. So, and then the dripping part of it, I liked because it reminded me of like cascading waterfalls. So you kind of have the nature aspect, the ice aspect, waterfalls. I also love navy, like midnight blue, and then
Me
it
too.
was great to put Chris in a midnight blue. It just photographs so well, especially when like you're surrounded by all that like black tuxedos and stuff. Um, so yeah, that's that.
You're so cool. I can't stand it. This
Thanks.
is. I
And it
was.
was fun too, because I mean, in this world, working so fast, we don't get to build a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and it also really helps, like when you get to work with like the same actors again, like you get to know like brands that work for them and like their proportions. So like,
Yeah.
and their likes and dislikes. So like, the first thing we did with Lacey was the dress, and I like draped that piece on her with like it's a fabric, it's like a cotton fabric called muslin. So I just did a muslin and like I wrapped it on her, and then like this ribbon piece in the back that just casually trails behind. Um, yeah, I really that was it's one of my favorites. But you know, it's always kind of like, what are we gonna do next? Because you always kind of want to up it. But at the end of the day, I like when I can do things that aren't so like off the rack, which then creates opportunity for future collections.
Which you're totally jump like hopscotching ahead of me right now, because
Uh, you can go
I
back and track. I don't care.
but like this was something I had a chance to talk with Andrew Gernhardt, the producer for
Oh, you did it? Oh, fun. He told
Yes.
me you guys were talking.
Yes. So we talked, and we ended up talking about like the future of entertainment, because I asked him to give advice for anyone who's thinking about getting into the filmmaking industry and maybe from a more behind the scenes perspective, like any advice. And he mentioned, how the future of entertainment is unclear because of AI. And just hearing you talk, and I say that because hearing you talk about your vision and how you like why you chose things that you did for Lacey's dress and the things that you AI can't give you that. Like that's something that I feel like AI will rob the like us as consumers of is little details like that. Like they wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like AI in and of itself wouldn't be able to capture a moment or I would say put meaning behind a moment because I think now even hearing that it makes the dress more meaningful to me. And so I want to ask you, Keith, like what are your thoughts about that in terms of like AI infiltrating well, I mean it's a villain to me. So like what do you feel like what do you feel like is the future of the filmmaking industry from your perspective as a costumer with the introduction of AI and like what does that look like?
Well, I'm also just about I mean I love the filmmaking process, so like anything that robs that, like I love the process of the actors showing up in the morning and going through hair and makeup and I'm talking and I usually will talk people through like, oh, I wanted to do this because it connects these things together and that and that. You don't get that. Um and also the thing I love about what I do is I can't hit a button and the color of the dress magically changes. I like as a costume person like the touch aspect of it and like someone has to like sit there and like fold the hem so like and hem it I love that hand thing so I feel like it's very timeless and we're already in a world where we're losing like hand crafts people so yeah it's scary that I mean already in the world where the film world where production's already down and things are really really slow
Yeah.
um, could get worse and non-existent. I'm also very proud. I feel like Hollywood and filmmaking is like not just American, but like Hollywood's very American with like The Wizard of Oz and like old school Hollywood. I love feeling like a tiny little part of that. So the fact that that could like disappear is really scary. And also, yeah, just as an art, and just yeah, as an artist, I'm all about like artistic and like creative integrity.
Yes.
And like losing that just seems like wrong.
Yes.
Like I
We are
feel like
kindred
we need
spirits.
more art in the world, not less.
Come on. That's
Especially
literally that's my
especially in
soapbox.
schools, especially in schools, because art was like one of my like safe spaces.
Yes.
And it
This is
actually like makes you think differently, which is why I have a business degree, but from an art school, because it was all about like thinking of business in different ways and how like you can get to the same solutions, like different pathways. Um, it's all of the thing.
it promotes critical thinking, it promotes
Yeah.
creative problem solving. Like oh gosh, I love artists so much. Like that's my soapbox. To a T is just how necessary art is for us as human beings, both as creators but also as consumers. Like how people could even view a certain principle or fact or just have a different perspective all because they saw a painting and a painting was
Yeah.
able to provoke something that made them think differently about something that they thought about
Exactly.
before.
Make you
Like
think. I had a professor in college that he was like, if you get one thing out of this whole semester, I want it to make you think.
yes, I love that so much. So speaking of that, as an artist, because now you do have your jacket collection, can we look forward to that turning into something bigger?
I mean, maybe. I mean, who knows? I mean, I never thought I'd be doing this. This is like a really specific thing because obviously it came up very quickly. Its specialty being like mad respect to anybody that produces in this country. It is not easy. It is not cheap. But definitely, yeah, it's something I'm definitely interested in. Um, so who knows? I wonder, like, I mean, yeah, who knows? I mean, I'm like, I mean, I could do anything. I mean, I wish I could have done a whole dress line inspired by like Radio City, and like a whole like I don't know, like cool stuff inspired by like the Biltmore and like the molding of the Biltmore.
Yes,
Like
a
it
collection
could
for
go
each
like it
movie.
could go in so many ways, whether it's related to like my film work or not.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know. It's so much, it takes so long to figure out who you are as an artist and like what you have to
Mm.
say. And
Mm-hmm.
like honestly, like I'm still figuring that out because like if you say like
Mm.
I'll bankroll it, Keith. Give me like one genre of garment you want to do. Like I can't tell you it'd be evening gowns or like ready to wear sweaters or outerwear. I mean, I guess I do love outerwear, so that might be. Um, but yeah, it always starts with one thing, and you never know.
Yeah. So my theme, Keith, this year is for Countdown to Christmas is community. And so everyone that I bring on, I ask them this question. And so I want to ask you, what does community mean to you and for you? And then what does it look like for you in the industry from your perspective as a costume designer?
Well, community, a big thing for me is support and safety. And
Mm,
filmmaking, my film peeps has really given me that.
mm,
I love the film community across the board, every job. Like, obviously, there's people you don't always get along with, but like, I've never felt like judged on a film set. I feel like it's a very,
mm,
like, everybody's there to like do a job and serve a purpose and like a common goal. And common goal, I think, is a good part of community as well. So it's a place of like belonging, and filmmaking is
mm.
a place of belonging. I feel like, yeah, when you're working towards like a common purpose, it's an interesting bonding thing. So yeah, what's yours?
Oh, you're the. I actually never thought about this. You're the first person to ask me, so like I never thought about it. I would say community definitely is very important to me. I didn't realize it until as of late, how important like my church family is to me. I mean, because I've grown up with them, so they've just always been there.
In
But
there.
it's kind of like, and frankly, I feel like I kind of took them for granted just because they've always been there. But I never really realized the value and how much they mean to me until this year. So that's something that I know is very special to me. And also just friends who genuinely care about your welfare and care about you, much like what you were talking about, like who root for you and cheer you on. Because I think we are our own worst critics. So sometimes it takes someone to really, sometimes they need to put the megaphone like right here in your ear in order for you to get it. Like, you can do this, you can create that jacket collection, or you can write that book, or you can do whatever. Like, so I'm very appreciative for those type of people, and the type of people who tell me, girl, you tripping. Like, I need you to just get
That's
it
important too.
yes. You need those type of people to be like, calm down. It ain't that deep. Like, whether whatever I'm crying over, just be like, girl, put on your jeans. Let's go out. It's gonna be okay. Things
Right.
like that. So that would be something, yeah, that I would say that I'm very appreciative of. But so with that, I want to ask, because you mentioned this earlier, but I want to see Keith do a non-holiday Hallmark movie. Are we going to get Keith Costumes doing a non-holiday Hallmark movie?
Non-holiday, but there's still jackets involved.
Even better. I think that's even better. Even better. We get the best of both worlds. I love that. I love that. Can you tease anything about any type of like clothing or texture moment that we can look forward to with this movie that you're excited about?
I'd say like clean lines.
Ooh. Ooh. I like clean lines. I feel
And
like
that's a
that.
little bit of fashion, I think. A little bit.
Oh, so we're going there. We're going like fashion.
It's not like one of those like Parisian fashion movies. I was not in Paris, unfortunately. But there was some opportunity to like play with some like cleaner lines and like slick and chic and city chic.
Yes. 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 I'm excited. And guys, if you're not excited, we just got to check your pulse, because that makes me really, really excited to see you in a non-holiday context. So Keith, I want to give you the last word here before I let you go. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. We can talk about city. We can talk about Blue Lagoons. We could, whatever you want to talk about. This is your moment to have. I want you to have the last word here.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I've just been this like big ball of kind of like love these days. So in the season of being like grateful, go tell somebody life's short. Um, and share one of these movies that make people feel good with somebody. Um, yeah. I mean, I do what is it? What is Cody? I do Peloton sometimes, and Cody's a trainer on there, and he was like talk to somebody, like tell somebody you love them and have the courage to tell somebody like hello that you don't know or something. I'm getting it all wrong. But like do something every day for yourself and like do a little something for somebody else. It's those little things that make me like, including Christmas movies. So yeah. Um and also we're in a really weird time, so I always tell people keep trucking along, hang in there.
Yes, and let the truck be a red Hallmark Christmas truck. It's even better.
Which there was a little, did you see the red Christmas truck Easter egg in Touchdown?
Did I miss that?
It's on one of the sweaters.
I totally missed that. Now that's see, AI can't do that either. That's sort of like I love that. I love that. I love that.
That was one of those natural things because we were working with the brand and then I saw it and I was like, I need this sweater.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Keith, you know you're always welcome. At this point, you have fridge privileges. You could just go into the fridge and get whatever it is you want. You don't have to ask. Put your feet up, put your socks on it, and you are always welcome into the home with Dear Hallmark. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, if you haven't already, be sure. I'm sure you probably caught Holiday Touchdown. But if you haven't already, please be sure to watch The Finish Line and Christmas Quest and take in all of this good costume nuggetry that Keith just dropped during our conversation right now. And until next time, he's Keith. I'm Dara, and this is Dear Hallmark. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Ciao, my friend.